we are incredibly excited to announce our new loan partnership with Credit Human, and we're going to talk about Credit Human loans today. So let's jump right into the agenda. First things first, we're going to talk about Credit Human requirements and their product offerings. Then we'll spend some time doing the designing and pricing in Aurora. We'll walk you through the step-by-step process of correctly submitting a Credit Human application. Then we'll give you the best practices for submitting that project to Lightspeed. And like all of our webinars, we'll end with a Q&A session. So let's get to it. What are the Credit Human loan requirements and product offerings? Well, to start, Credit Human has a minimum FICO score of 650. Now, in the range of 650 to 679, it does require manual review. Credit scores above 680 will get an auto approval as long as it meets the DTI requirement. They offer loans between $7,500 and $100,000, and their loan terms are 10, 15, and 20 years. Now, the main thing about Credit Human is all of their loans are 7.99% and have no dealer fees. This is a loan option that will be available in all of the states with the exception of Puerto Rico. Now, the DTI limit is up to 60% for the Credit Human loan product that we're using, which is the secured loan option, which we'll talk about a little bit later in this presentation. So Credit Human's allowed property types are primary residences, vacations, and rental homes. They do allow LLCs and trusts with verification of the LLC or a trust. You must prove home ownership, that you are the owner of that property. Situations where it's not allowed are dealer employees. So dealer employees are not eligible for Credit Human loans. So for Credit Human loans, the first payment is due 6 months after install. Homeowners with Credit Human loans are allowed 3 reamortizations over the life of the loan. It does require a 10% pay down to complete one of those reamortizations. So there is no 18-month reamortization, but the homeowner can choose 3 times at any point during the loan to pay it down 10% and then reamortize that loan. A couple things to know. There is a UCC placed on equipment, not the home, and there are specific UCC fees added to the loan. For Credit Human loans, there is a hard credit pull at the application. Approvals are good for 180 days. You may apply for an extension after 180 days, but that would require an additional hard pull for that extension. The credit bureau that Credit Human uses is Equifax, and then it waterfalls down to TransUnion. And again, there are no payments until 6 months after installation, and there are no prepayment penalties. So there are some situations where Credit Human will require income verification. All individuals must be on the application for their income to be considered. So if only one person applies, only use that person's income. There's a maximum of 2 applicants on the credit application. And for verification of income, if the loans are $85,000 and under, it is underwriter discretion whether or not they will verify income. Any loan over $85,000, verification will be required. Now, the methods of verification are 30 days of pay history or 2 years of tax returns if they are a self-employed person. So let's jump over to Aurora now and do the design and how to run the credit application and price this in Aurora. Okay, so now it's time to design and price this project in Aurora. So I've completed my design with the base model panel for Credit Human. In this case, it's the JA405. And now that it's time to actually price out this project and choose a financing product, I can either do that from the pricing page here or under the financing page. Under Aurora Custom Financing, you'll see the 3 Credit Human options. So I've chosen the 20-year 7.99%. So you'll notice here after we've chosen that product, you'll see monthly payments 1 through 6 at 0, and then their payments after month 6. Here's their monthly payment. If they're ready to move forward, then we need to open up the credit application in Credit Human. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, we've opened up the credit application for Credit Human. You can find a link to this credit application in the email communication that we sent out. We suggest that you bookmark this so you have easy access to it. Now, in order to apply for a Credit Human loan, we're going to choose the personal loan option. Now from here, we're going to copy the loan amount information over from our proposal. So in this case, it's 24300. Now the plan number is incredibly important, and you'll see on screen right now, we have a screenshot from the communication that was sent out. The corresponding plan number goes with the term of the loan. So there's a plan number for the 10-year, 15, and 20-year loan. Make sure that you put the correct plan number in here. Now back at the application, we're going to put the plan number in. Because we went with the 20-year loan option, we're going to choose 4780 as our plan option. Yes, we are the owner of the property. Here's our property types. We are primary residence. And then we're going to put in our salesperson information. Click continue. Now here's where you'll complete the homeowner's information, SSN, date of birth, preferred contact method, and their current physical address. So one thing that could happen here is if they've lived at the home for less than 6 months, it will request a previous address. So set that expectation with the homeowner that when you're filling out the credit application, if they've been at the residence for less than 6 months, then the previous address information will pop up as well. Now remember, depending on the amount of applicants on the application, maximum of 2, but if it's only one applicant, only put that person's income in when you're filling out their employment status and their gross monthly income. For ID verification, you could upload their ID and then continue to the next page. When we go to the next page, we will see our application information that we've put in. The homeowner will agree to the borrowing settings, and then you can submit the application. So now that the application is complete, the homeowner will receive an email to DocuSign their documents. There is no welcome call for a Credit Human loan. However, Credit Human will reach out to the homeowner to do a courtesy call about their loan once it is funded. So set the expectation that when the loan funds, they will receive a call from Credit Human to go over the terms of that loan again. When you are ready to submit this project, there are again 2 avenues for submission. One, you can use the PG Lite method to convert it from Aurora, or you can do the project manually. Let's demonstrate both of those now. So back in Aurora, we can choose the exit to CRM option. And again, while we build the Credit Human platform into Aurora, the exit to CRM will simulate it as if it was a Mosaic loan. We're going to skip through the Mosaic loan screen as it appears. From here, we will confirm our project details and work through the standard PG Lite model. And then make sure that at the notes section on the bottom, you choose Credit Human Loan. Make sure you put that in the notes so that when you convert the project over to Lightspeed, we know that it's a Credit Human loan. Now, the other option for submitting this project is to return to Lightspeed and click Generate Project, where you'll see Credit Human Solar Plan as well. From here, you will have to enter the details of the application again manually. Either option will work. You can convert it using PG Lite in Aurora or choose the Credit Human plan on the manual project generator. Just make sure that when you are using the project generator, as you're copying that information over to the project generator, that the information is accurate from your Aurora proposal and your credit application. So about halfway through this presentation, we did launch the Q&A. If you have questions now, will be a time to submit them to our Q&A. We have a panel of guests here from Freedom that will answer your questions. So let's jump over to that Q&A now. All right, everyone, thank you for joining us. We do have some questions that are coming into our Q&A. We'll go ahead and get those on, and we'll get some of these easy ones out of the way first. From Colin, what is the minimum credit score? It is a minimum of 650. From 650 to 679, it'll require a manual review. 680 and above is more likely to get approved. So great question. Thank you. Next question is from Kevin. And that is for the 650 to 679 manual review, if it is after hours, how long does it take to get approval? Ryan, Rob, do you have any guidance on, I know there's like certain hours of operation, typically what's the turnaround time if they're closed for that review?
It'll be within 30 minutes of resuming business hours.
Appreciate that, Rob. All right, next question is from David, and it's about income verification. If both husband and wife are used to prove income, are both credit scores being run? And if so, what determines the pass-fail? Do we know how Credit Human does the application process for co-applicants?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer. I just texted our contact at Credit Human to see if we can get more information on that. If I get the answer by the end of the call, I'll chime back in, but I don't know the answer to that right now. Understand the question. We'll get back to you.
Appreciate that. So some of the questions we're getting is about the credit application itself. Are we able to email that credit app, or is it have to be done within that portal? Can we email it to the homeowner?
You can certainly just send them the link and the plan that they should enter, and they could fill it out. So yeah, you could just text it to them or email it to them.
And the next question we have is from, they're asking, do we know if Credit Human currently accepts ITINs? I know that's a question we were asked earlier in the afternoon. Do we have any follow-up on that? Do we know if they allow ITINs?
I believe they allow LLCs, which would assume. I don't know the answer to that actually. Okay, let me see if I can get the answer there.
Okay, appreciate it, Rob. This next question is from Nicole. Is running credit a hard or soft pull? As we mentioned in the presentation, it is a hard pull when you run the credit application. To answer the email question, you can email them the link to complete the application themselves. Looks like the ID upload is part of the credit application. So that is part of the application inside of their portal. Am I correct in saying there are no individual logins for Credit Human? Everyone just uses the link to apply for the credit?
That is accurate.
All right. We are rifling through a lot of these. A lot of questions are, we will post the business hours for Credit Human on the recap comms. We'll have a standard rate card and additional resources available when we post the recap, which will also have the business hours for the welcome call. Does the co-applicant have to be on the deed? Rob or Ryan, anyone want to take that one?
Co-applicant does not have to live in or own the home. I'm going to put it, well, actually, we have in the Credit Human folder in the Sales Resource Center, if you go to Finance and Payment Options and then Credit Human folder, there is a quick dealer reference sheet that I think answers many of these questions. The applicant must be the legal owner of the property where work is being completed, but the co-applicant does not. I'm trying to find, I think there's something here about ITIN, but I'm not able to find it. So I'll still get back to you on that one. But that is a very helpful guide that helps explain some of these other underwriting questions and some of the nuanced pieces there. There's several bullets in here that explain some of that. So I'll just direct you guys to that document as well for some of these questions.
Rob, while I have you on the spot here, is there any additional information about how they handle roofing and batteries? Can that all be built in?
It can. They do also have other home improvement loans that that technically we can offer. They're not in Aurora today, but yes, we can. We do need to send through some of the information to them. So I think there is some limits to what we can build in. So that's another one we'll take a note and see if we can provide some better direction on those.
Okay. Question from Christopher, and it's regarding the income approval. How do they upload their income verification? Is that included in the credit application, or do they log into a portal?
So if there's STIPs, generally they will work that through email, or Freedom can upload those to the portal. That's generally how that would work.
Okay, appreciate that. Riley, to answer your question, and we'll put it on screen here, 6 months no payment, does that start when the loan is funded or when the project is installed? Rob, I'm correct in saying that that is at 6 months from when the project is installed?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the same time frame here, installed and funded. More or less, Freedom would get funded when install is approved by Credit Human. So from their perspective, it is one and the same. But yes, it would be from the installation.
Appreciate that. And this question is from Philip for, easy for me to say, reamortizations. The 10% pay down is a minimum, correct? The customer can pay down more than 10%? That is correct. So in order to trigger one of those 3 reamortizations over the course of the loan, you do need to pay a minimum of 10% down and to request that. Okay, we've covered the manual review and we've covered that. Let's get some more questions in here. Ryan, do you know if there is a system size minimum? Or Rob, can either you?
Yeah,
do you know if
yeah, I
there's
can
a
take that
minimum
one.
system size?
There is not a minimum system size, but there is a minimum loan size. So, but no, they could do 2 panels if they wanted to. It just needs to be, I think it's a 10K minimum, if I recall.
Okay, appreciate that.
Rob, correction, it's a $7,500 minimum.
Great, thank you.
Do we have a tool for allowing customers to see what the payment would be if they paid some of the loans down? I know some of our previous loan partners had a calculator. Does Credit Human have something similar?
So factoring the any reamortizations or prepayments is like they can request that at any time, and we're not going to know when they're requesting it and what the remaining term would be to know what the payment would be. So it's a little bit challenging. And unfortunately, the way that the loan is set up in Aurora, it doesn't allow us to model, like even if I said, okay, make it at 18 months and assume you pay 30% down, the way the loan is set up in Aurora right now, we do not have the ability to model that, unfortunately. I think you can, though, use for anybody familiar with just like Excel or a mortgage loan, all you really need to do is just put in the remaining balance, the remaining term, and the interest rate, and you can figure out that payment. It's not a secret formula. It's just a normal mortgage loan calculator, essentially. So if you know how to do that in Excel with the payment function, you can do it that way, or you can just probably Google, mortgage loan calculator and just input, again, the principal, the remaining principal after they make the payment, the interest rate, which would be 7.99%. If you're doing it over the remaining term, which is normally in months, you would do 7.99 divided by 12, and then however many months are remaining at that point. So yeah, it's not that hard to figure out. You just kind of go find one of those tools.
All right, we do have a question from Kevin regarding the UCC fees. I know this is going to be included in a lot of our recap information. Can you guys go over what the fees are that are associated with it when they do the UCC secured loan and the membership? Brian, is that something you can answer?
Yes, so I want to double check, but I recall the UCC filing fee was $250. There was a $25 processing fee. And then I believe there was another fee attached to that. I'm trying to find it in the deck right now.
It's the membership, right?
Yeah, the membership fee, correct. I remember that being relatively low. Forgive me.
So the UCC filing fee, I think, is $295. That is what they call capitalized. So that's basically just added to the loan. So if they have a $10,000 loan, it would end up being $10,295. Yeah, Ryan, I'm not sure about any of the membership fees or the other fees. They're all pretty minimal, though, and generally those fees can just be added to the loan, and they're really not going to make any material difference on the payments. So all of that it is there, but it's not super material.
All right. Next question is from Ryan. And Rob, this is kind of for you. Will this ultimately be integrated with Aurora, or is this always going to be under the custom financing?
We'll see what the future holds. I don't know. As of this point, we don't have any plans to integrate it with Aurora. Credit Human's not a small company. They do a decent amount of volume, but I don't think they've had any discussions with integrating into Aurora yet. I know they are kind of going through a process of rebuilding their platform right now. So maybe in the future they'll have some APIs that allows them to integrate, but no plans as of right now.
Do either of you know how is the rep or customer notified of their approval? Is that something that goes, how would the rep know if the process has been approved?
They should be communicating the approvals through email to the customer. Conversely, you certainly can call them and get the update. But if they're approved, the customer's going to get the email with the loan docs. So everything is kind of handled through email.
So a lot of the questions we're getting in the Q&A right now have to deal with add-on systems and manufactured homes. Do we know if they do manufactured homes, and are they allowed to do add-on systems with this loan? It's two-pronged.
They're not going to care about add-on systems, to my knowledge. Manufactured homes, I don't know the answer to. I'm looking through their docs. I'm not seeing anything right now. Ryan, not sure if you know the answer to that question.
It wasn't called out specifically, but I do have it on my list to follow up on.
Yeah. So we can get back to some of that stuff, or just add it. We'll probably just add these answers to the at a glance document.
That's a good idea. Barbara, to clarify, again, we're going to find the information regarding Credit Human in the portal. That's going to be in our finance and payment options folder. We'll have one specifically dedicated to Credit Human. So, and again, with all of our webinars, we do release a recap where you can review this entire recording. We'll also add it to our video library. We will recap it and add any additional resources and links to those resource pages. So look for that sometime later this afternoon, and you can send that out to your teams to review this as well. Another question from Ryan is, if the homeowner pays the entire principal within 6 months, do they owe any interest or fees, or is it just the full principal? I want to say, from what I read in the documentation, you guys can confirm this, when it funds, it does, even for the 6 months, it is accruing some interest, correct?
It does accrue interest during those first 6 months. That's correct. So the principal would be a little bit higher than it was originally, because those are going to just, that interest would be accrued and capitalized, but no other fees beyond that. There's no prepayment fees or anything like that.
Appreciate that. All right. Do we know if, I know we're kind of getting in the weeds on like acceptable properties like manufactured. Was there any guidance on ground mounts?
Ground mounts are fine.
Ground mounts are fine. All right. If a client has an existing Credit Human home improvement loan for a different product, will that affect approval? Is there like a maximum amount of projects they can have with Credit Human? Do we know that information yet?
I mean, obviously, any debt that a homeowner would take would count against their DTI. So I think with the caveat that they still need to, pass credit and suffice their underwriting requirements. These are all good questions. A lot of these, though, like we just started working with Credit Human, we wanted to get it in your hands. And so I think some of these more detailed, nuanced questions, we gotta just check and get back to you guys on this. We haven't asked this one specifically. My guess would be the way it works with most is that you gotta wrap up one loan before you can sign another. I would guess that's the answer here with Credit Human, but we'll get back to you. And then, of course, the caveat being the second time you apply, your DTI and credit and all of that still needs to be within whatever guidelines they have. So, but we'll get back to you to clarify that specific question.
Jason, to answer your question about which panels can be used, we would always ask that you refer to the adder sheet in the Sales Resource Center for the base model panels for the product. So refer to the adder sheet for the panel. I believe with Credit Human, we are still using the JA405s. For Luis, the maximum loan is 100,000. From 85,000 to 100,000, there will be verification. At 85,000 and below, it's up to the underwriter's discretion if there will be a verification on that. All right, we are getting down to the end of our questions that aren't repeats. Does the reamortization take time off of the term or just lower the payment for the remainder? I'm correct in saying that's more of a lowering the payment for the term of the loan. It doesn't take years off, just lowers the payment.
Yeah, what a reamortization does is it smooths out the remaining principal balance over the remaining term. So if you have 200 months left, but you pay down 40% of the loan, it's going to take the remaining 60% principal and smooth that out over the 200 remaining months. So it keeps the same remaining term. It just resets the payment based on the then current principal balance at that time.
Thanks, Rob. Do we know how long credit decisions take? Are they immediate, or is it typically take a little bit of time before they receive the approvals?
Ryan, feel free to add on here, but there's basically 3 types of credit decisions. There's a instant approval or denial. There's a manual approval or denial. And then I guess there's really only 2. I'll just call it instant and manual. So instant, as you said during the training, Mark, there are some situations where a customer will just instantly be approved or denied. There's no manual look needed. There are situations where they do need to manually review. In those cases, there's a 30-minute SLA. Oftentimes, they do get back much faster than 30 minutes. I'm told it's within 5 or 10 minutes typically. And then depending on that review, again, you might either get approved or denied, or they might ask for more information at that point. They might ask for, whatever they need, loan, income information, title information, whatever. So that was kind of the third one that I was referring to. So they could approve or deny with the information that they have after a manual review, or they could follow up and ask for more information for the review. And then depending on whether that's provided and what is provided, there might be an approval or denial from there.
Thanks, y'all. We are really at the end of our question list of things that haven't already been asked or answered. So if there's any new questions regarding this process or questions we can answer about Credit Human, send those to the chat now, to the Q&A, and we'll get those approved. And again, look for the recap later. You can always email questions that were unanswered if you didn't get the answer you were looking for to producteducation@freedomforever.com. Rob, does Credit Human do M1s? Are we doing M1 payments for Credit Human?
No M1s for Credit Human.
All right.
And yes, there are instant reviews after hours. Instant review doesn't require anybody to look at it, so those instant reviews would still happen, but any manual reviews would, as we answered before, they would have to wait 4 business hours to get reviewed.